So the whole, media thing started. Uh, I think this is the ninth year, if I'm not wrong, or eighth year. I mean, I'm a young guy, but then I guess I figured it out earlier on. So it was back in Enugu State, So I started off as a skit maker. So and then obviously it was back in I was still in secondary school as of then. So so at that level, our content creation generally was not that big as it is now. you know it was more of, I mean, there were creators already, but what we were doing back then was more like just having fun. Just a group of guys, we just come together, we make up scenarios, and then we get to film it with our phones. So obviously after filming with our phones, we have to edit, you know to brings us back to the main topic of the day, which is video editing. So there's no other way to get on with video editing than actually getting on with it, because at then I mean, we don't have the money to pay someone to do these things for us, so we have to figure it out ourselves. So that was my journey into video editing. Sorry. So I started with most of us might know this app. It's called Viva Video. Yeah, it's a mobile video. I don't even know if the app is still existing now, but that was such a very powerful app as of then. I mean, it was the things I did with it. It was whenever I showed people videos I edited, and they are like, "Wow!" I mean, I even had to lie to some people that I was using a system back then, because the Viva Video had this. Built-in effects and all of, just like CapCut does now. So there are some crazy effects that I will just put all of them in my videos, even when it's not necessary. I just put it there because it's there, you know. So it was, I mean, those days were fun. So that was my journey into video editing. So the more I was shooting, the skits with my guys then, so I still have to be the one to edit and all of that. So, and the thing about when you are doing something you are passionate about, I mean, we started it off as a really fun, we just, maybe in our free hours in school, we just we just sit and we shoot skits. It was really not a thing per se as of then. So we were just whiling away time. But as time goes on, those times, like I said earlier before, content creation was not what it is. What I mean, as of then, it was not really that big. But then we still had creators that we were looking up to. Some skit makers then were making waves on the internet. So it was at that point that I felt like, okay, so one can actually do this like for a job. So I started becoming interested in the whole entertainment content thing. So it was now because my senior brother, he was into photography at the time. Yeah, he was doing photography already even before I started the skit making. So it was at that time that when I found interest in the whole content thing, so I looked up, I told my brother that I would love to start the photography, like start, maybe when he has a job, I can tag along, I just started becoming interested in the whole camera stuff and all of that. So that was how I didn't really learn photography per se. Like I wasn't an apprentice of my brother, but then it was more like, okay, he's my brother now, so I can always tag along with him, learn how to use the camera and all of that. So that was the situation. And then I was still making the skits. So it was until 2019. So it started in 2017 anyways. So by 2019 it was already somewhere in my mind that I want to do this, even though my dream then was to be an engineer before architecture. So because I was in a technical college, so I wanted to, I mean, the whole engineering plan was on my head, in as much as I was still doing the content thing alongside. So, but fast forward to 2019, I was already, very good at photography with my brother, and then the video editing stuff. So I transitioned from phone editing to video to proper video editing. Same 2019. Yeah, my brother gave me this. worn out laptop. It was a HP laptop. Yeah, HP laptop, and I think Core i5, 2 gig RAM. So that was what I used to learn video. I didn't start with Premiere Pro. I started with Pinnacle Studio. I'm sure most of us must have heard of Pinnacle. Is a professional video editing software, but it's really basic. So I started with Pinnacle, then I transitioned to Premiere Pro later. I can remember the first time I installed Premiere Pro. Remember, I said I was using, it was a 2 gig RAM system. It was 2 gig RAM. You can imagine how slow, how laggy, but that was what I started with. So installing Premiere Pro, I couldn't figure out my way out. It was just like really what's the word? It was such a big deal looking at the interface. I couldn't even understand what is happening there because I've been editing with phones. From Viva Video, I transitioned to there was another one then, Viva Video, Viva Show, KindMaster, and later on I went to InShot. So InShot was like the last mobile software application I used before Pinnacle Studio. Pinnacle was still very much looking like a phone editing app. That was why it was easier for me to navigate. But I wanted something more, because I made my research and I understood that, oh, Premiere Pro is what professionals use. I'm like, okay, so it's about time I upgraded. So by the time I installed Premiere Pro, I couldn't figure out my way. There was nobody to teach me because my brother was strictly on photography. He wasn't really doing much of video, and so I couldn't. Meanwhile, before then I already had basic knowledge of Adobe Photoshop and what else? I think Lightroom, yeah, because of the photography experience. So then I had to. So I didn't open Premiere Pro for the next 2 weeks after installing it because it was a lot. I couldn't figure out where to start, how to, So then one day I'm like, I should actually give this a try. So that was how I started watching YouTube tutorials. So I'm very proud and glad to say that I learned video editing from YouTube. Yes, as shocking as it might sound, but then I learned video editing and visual effects from YouTube. I mean, it was a long journey of consistency and practice. Not necessarily consistency, it's about practice because when you are learning the theory, you have to actually practicalize, you have to do things, you have to create, and then get better at the craft. So I watched thousands of YouTube tutorials. I would literally download lots of them, and I was very specific on what I wanted. Like, I remember when we started the call, I talked about cuts. So when I want to learn cut, I watch videos about cutting. When I want to learn sound design, I strictly watch videos on. So that way, it was more like a course for me. I mean, I didn't have at the time I wasn't very much exposed to the idea that I can buy a course online or I can pay for tutorials like private courses and all of that. So I literally had to just depend on videos I could find on the internet. So that was it for me. So, but then I was still specific on each topic, because sometimes I'm editing and I need to figure out something. I get stuck somewhere. Maybe I see a key on this software or maybe an icon. I don't know what it is, so I have to browse what this thing is. So that was how I navigated. Meanwhile, the skit making stuff, I actually from 2019, I was like, okay, I could actually do something more bigger than because at some point I felt really when I was already getting better at the video editing from Premiere Pro, I felt like I need to show more of these video editing skills because the skits I was making then it was still very much basic editing. I mean, the only thing I had to do was just cut the videos, put my sound effects and soundtrack, and that was it. So it didn't really show much of the video editing skill. It was something someone can easily do with their phones. So I needed more. I needed to create something more. You understand with the video editing skill. So what I did was I transitioned to filmmaking. Yeah, so I abandoned the skit because I needed to practicalize. I needed to show off more of my video editing. Okay, I'm just getting to switch on my camera now. So yeah, this is me. Okay, so like I was saying, I got to transition from skit making to filmmaking. So I started making indie short films, independent short films, where I just put guys together. So I had a team actually. I created a film company, and that was the people I shot with. So that was when I started making sci-fi short films. Yeah, because I was learning after I got better to an extent in video editing. I had to start learning visual effects as well. I'm not really much of an advanced visual effects artist, but I do have a very good knowledge of it. So because the laptop I was using at the time, it was very it was very inconvenient for me. Imagine editing videos with a 2 gig RAM system, and then I have like it was sometimes I would line up videos to cut, and then the laptop starts lagging, and that lag might continue for the next 1 hour, and then I'm seated there waiting for the system to respond. So you can imagine the frustration, let alone making visual effects with the same PC. That was a lot of patience. I mean, I was very at my beginning days. I was really video editing taught me patience. It taught me to be calm because at the time when the system is frustrating you, you can't do anything about it than to wait. You understand? It was a very funny situation back then. So, but I had to pass through all of that. So it was really a time where well, anyways, that's about that. So I was learning visual effects as well, and then I was implementing the skills in my sci-fi short films. So that was the moment when people, when they watch my stuff, they'll be like, wow, you edited this. So I felt the satisfaction then because they can now see that it goes beyond the skit, the basic editing I was doing at that time. So I wanted something more, something. So that was how I kept it going until, remember I mentioned earlier on that I wanted to become an engineer. So, and you and I know that the country that we are in, Nigeria, is a country that changes people's destiny. It can be good and it can be for bad. So in my own case, I would say it was for good because I wrote the first jump I wrote. I didn't got the cutoff mark for electrical engineering, so I had to opt for architecture. So and then it was now when I got admission for architecture, even though at that time because I was a science student, so if not for the fact that I did science, I was going to go for theater arts. For the fact that over the years I've been doing this filmmaking stuff and I already fallen in love with it. But then educationally wise, I had to go for something that was in line with my course in secondary school. So that was the plan. And then at the time I got architecture, yeah, the admission for architecture. So I was processing my admission already when one casual evening, I was scrolling through my phone and I saw a film school online, and the film school was in Lagos. So before then, I always wanted to come to Lagos because I was already doing gigs for people. Like at the time when I was shooting my short films, putting it out on YouTube, I was already getting little attention from people because obviously I was creating something, spectacular at the time. So people would call me to shoot video skits for them, to shoot movies for them, edit for them, all those kind of. I was doing events to events, photography, videography. So I was basically doing media jobs. So I was learning graphic design, video editing, visual effects, all from YouTube. And yeah, that was my journey. So I was running gigs for people already. So it was then I was pushing my architectural dreams too. So that casual evening, I saw the film school online. Meanwhile, I already wanted to come to Lagos because a lot of people will reach out to me online and they are like, "Where are you? Where are you? I want you to do this for me, do this for me." So by the time I tell them I'm in Enugu State, it's obviously like they just stop the conversation there because they cannot pay for my transport to come to Lagos. And I mean, when they have people that can do it for them in Lagos, it's just because they felt like, okay, I'm doing a good job. So that was the situation, and I needed to come to Lagos. So what happened was that by the time I was processing my admission for architecture, I saw the film school and I'm like, okay, and I could actually go to this school with my science. It's not like remember I mentioned I wanted to do theater arts, but then I didn't do arts in secondary school, so I had to go for a science course. So then this school has options that I can go to this school with my science certificate, So that was the situation, and I'm like, okay, why do I? Because in as much as I wanted to do architecture, I was not passionate about it, and I'm a very intentional person. Intentional in the sense that when I want something, I go for it against all odds. So why do I have to go on with architecture when I'm not passionate about? I mean, it's not like I will not make a good architect per se, but then it's not. I'm not hungry for it, you know. So that was the situation, and then I had to give it up. Yeah, I gave it. I mean, I had that argument with my people then because they were like, growing up as a kid to the moment I left architecture, I've always wanted to be a lot of things. I've so at some point I wanted to be a soldier, at some point a priest. So I had that um, clash of what do we call it? So I've always wanted to do a lot of things, and then whenever I tell my parents the idea that okay, I'm not doing this one again, I want to do this, they see me as a confused person. It was a very stupid situation back then. So by the time I told them I'm leaving architecture, I want to go and do filmmaking, I want to go to this film school in Lagos. So everybody looked at me like, is this boy okay? So that was but then I know what I wanted, because one thing about life is you have to be truthful to yourself. You have to see ahead of every other person for what you want for yourself, you know. So for them, they wanted me to continue with the architecture at the time, because obviously it was a very good professional course, and it was, now in Nigeria, it's either they want you to be a lawyer, a doctor, this one. So they want all those corporate stuff. But me, I like to explore. That's the kind of person I am. And having that, I was already, the whole entertainment media thing was like very big on my head then. So I'm like, why do I have to waste my years doing architecture while I can actually push my dreams? So I had to. I finally convinced them, and that was how I made my way to Lagos and to the film school, Pepsi Film Institute. That's the name of my school. I already graduated actually. So uh, meanwhile, why coming to Lagos? Before coming to Lagos, like I mentioned before, I was already doing gigs for people, shooting and all of that, and making my own independent short films too. So finally in Lagos, the journey grew bigger. So I continued. I did not stop. So even while I was in school, I was running gigs for other people as well. So it was a long journey of. I mean, I'm still on the journey actually. I mean, it's still getting started if you ask me. But looking back to how it has been and how it is now, it's about consistency and putting in the work, like I always say. I think that's the most important thing. So I did film and television production in film school. It consists of literally every department in filmmaking. We're talking about script writing, um, video editing, acting, directing, sound, lighting, what else? Continuity, set design, makeup. Everything that every like is that's I mean it's a film school, so it comprises of every aspect of filmmaking. So that was what I did. And then so it basically means I have ideas or expertise in every department in filmmaking. So that's what it is. But then as a creative, in as much as you can actually multitask, you need to have some specific measures that you can be very conversant with. So in my own case, like I introduced myself earlier, I am a filmmaker. So the word filmmaker basically means a director or a producer. So when we say filmmaker, we don't it's not like a filmmaker. A script writer is not a filmmaker in the professional language. a video editor is not a filmmaker. So a filmmaker is either a director or a producer. So I direct, I I act, yeah. So I do video editing, I do cinematography, I do photography, but not as much as I do in the back in the days. Right now I'm not doing a lot of photography right now. So I do graphic design as well and very little visual effects. So still multitasking anyway, but maybe as the day grows, we'll drop some of them. Yeah, I'm a stunt director too. So back in the day, remember I mentioned I was making sci-fi films then. So the sci-fi films was, I mean, it has to be action. It can't just be normal sci-fi. There has to be an element of action in it. So that was what motivated me to go learn martial arts. So I learned martial arts because I wanted to do the action in my films. Watching Jackie Chan and the rest, Bruce Lee growing up, I wanted to be that person too. So I had to learn martial arts that transitioned my journey to becoming a stunt director. So I just do a lot of things. Not like I'm doing a lot of things and making a lot of money. No, we'll get there. But this is the journey. It all started from somewhere, and we are still walking through the journey, and hopefully, we'll get somewhere bigger. So, I'm trying not to, in as much as I'm telling my story, but I still want it to come um, to be based off of the topic, the video editing topic. So, I've edited so many videos, so many I've literally lost count of the kind of videos or the amount of videos I've edited. I mean, it's a lot, and I've edited for different um, niches per se. So, as a video editor, you can decide to have a niche. You can decide to have a specific kind of content that you want to be editing. So, in my own case, I have not had that uh, decision to have, sorry, to be specific about the kind of videos I edit. I'm the kind of guy that you bring any video I edit for you as long as you have to pay me. So I don't have a niche. So, but some people are very specific on the kind of projects they take. We have people that strictly edit movies.
editors. And
They are just movie
we
editors.
have people that edit
We have people that edit events. We have people that edit blogs, podcasts, music videos. You know, so it really depends on what you want to do as an editor. You can decide that you want to focus on this, you want to focus on that, and then you can still be a commercial editor, just like myself, that you can edit anything that comes your way. But the only problem with multitasking in this craft is that you will be having a problem to find a balance because these different video editing approaches, they have different ways of, it's not the way you edit a film that you edit a music video, in as much as it all boils down to cutting. Remember, the first step of editing a video is to cut. So in all of them you have to cut, obviously, but then there are different concepts of editing them, right? It goes the same with shooting them. You can't, it's not the way they shoot a film, they shoot a music video. So the editing process is not the same as well. So when you are learning video editing, you can um what's the word? You can be specific on the kind of video editing you want to learn, right? So like I mentioned before now, I'm trying to remember the language I used, but nevertheless, I'm trying to um, create the let us know the different approaches to video editing. So editing a movie, for instance, you have to consider continuity. You have to consider sound. The sound. When I mean sound, I mean the dialogue. The dialogue of the actors or the monologue. The voice of the person talking in the scene. You have to consider a lot of things. But in editing music video, you don't really need the background voice. I mean, you don't even need the original sound that came with the camera because you're obviously going to replace it with the song that was shot for the video. So many other video, when you're editing a podcast, you are editing a vlog, there are different approaches to all of this. So that's about having a niche in video editing. Then when it comes to one question people always ask, because I'm a member of a lot of communities of video editors and all of that. So people always ask which video editing niche pays more. So I don't think there is a specific answer to that question because it all depends on the level you are operating on and your experience or the uh, how big you are. I wouldn't use the word big, but I guess you guys understand what I'm talking about. A good instance is someone that edits or what's it called? Marvel Studios, for instance, the people that produce the Superman and all of the Avengers movie, you know, people that edit for them are movie editors, right? But then you cannot say that someone that edits for what would I say? Um, what's a good instance? Maybe who is the biggest artist, musical artist in the world? So I'm just trying to give a comparison. So it all boils down to the level you are operating on. You can be I know someone that edits for a YouTube channel. He edits for he's a foreign actually, someone a USA guy, but the editor is a Nigerian. So he edits for this US guy that has a YouTube channel, and then he makes at least $2,000 every month. Yeah. So I bet you that some people that edit movies in Nigeria, some people that edit, so the kind of content this guy edits is more like a vlog lifestyle kind of video. And at the end of the year, he edits like 4 videos a month. And those 4 videos put together, or maybe one of the videos is like maximum 5 to 7 minutes. Yeah, 5 to 7 minutes. And he edits 4 of those in a month. Now, and we have people in this same Nigeria that edit movies of 2 hours long. At the end of the day, they might be making 500K. It's just an instance. So, and then this other guy that edits a 5 minutes video is making more than them. And then we have a Marvel Studios editor somewhere else that is making up to like maybe $20,000. So it all depends on where you are, your skill sets, and your branding. Yeah, branding is very important because I don't want to go into branding as a topic, but I'm just trying to reference it with what I'm talking about. So there is no niche that I'll tell. Back to my question, which niche pays better as a video editor? I wouldn't say there is a specific niche. It all depends on the person and the sector and your branding and your capability, your skill set. So, which brings us back to the question: should you have a niche as a video editor? So, it is now you as the editor that would know, that would make that personal research of, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to be a film editor, I want to be a music video editor, depending on your research and what is best for you or what you think that will pay you more. So some of us are doing the craft for passion, some of us are doing it because we want money. So whichever way, you have to be passionate about it before you make money out of it. Because if you're not passionate about it, you cannot be creative enough, you cannot tell story enough. The whole concept of video editing is storytelling. That is why we shoot when a movie is not shot sequentially. You as the editor would put everything together so that you have a story, you know. So because of time, I think I've talked a lot already. This is 5:59, and I don't know. Do I still have time, or
Yes.
that's it? So
to my second question,
I have time. Okay.
I was going to say to my second question because you answered all of the questions I had.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, AB.
Oh,
And
wow. Okay.
if anyone would agree with me, this was even a better session than the premiere would have been. So yeah, it's always good to hear the stories and the insights into what you do. So don't go anywhere. We still have a second session coming up, which will be led by myself. So thank you very much, AB. Really glad you could make it work, and we're looking to bring you back soon for for the actual Premiere session. But for now, let us all
Yeah,
head
definitely.
over to the instructional design session where you get to hear from me as well. So thanks, AB, and thanks everyone. Skeeter, I see that you have a contribution. Can you maybe join the instructional design class and let's address that over there? Is that possible? All right. Thanks, and see everyone soon. Bye.
Okay. Thank you guys
Yeah.
so much. We'll meet next time,
Thank you.
right? All right. Thank you.